I hope that this is big enough. That's going to be the best way to do it. Probably to zoom in on things. Yeah, you can kind of see. So, if this is your first time to my forecasts, then so be it. Welcome. I am telling a story based on the arrangement of the planets. It is just a story inspired by the zodiacal system and inspired by my understanding of what those symbols mean. And I understand that I'm trying to take something abstract and distant and make it relevant to this world. So I'm going to try to be concise. Can I text while I'm doing this? Let me see. Options. Still live. Anyways, so it is a full moon, which means that the sun and the moon are opposites. So what do we start with? We start with the sun. Because if the sun decided to disappear, then I think life as we know it would cease. Is that reasonable? So seems like a good place. Everything else in our galaxy, all the other planets, they're more or less orbiting this massive star. So where is the sun? The sun is in Cancer, near the heart of Cancer season. What rules over Cancer? The moon. Where's the moon? Well, we already know it's exactly opposite. See? So here's the sun in Cancer. During the full moon, literally in the sky, from our perspective, here's the Earth. Right? They're on the opposite sides. Now, it's not an eclipse. Because the North Node, that's this point right here, that is whenever that the Earth's shadow is right in the center. So these objects are being obstructed. That's not happening. So this is not an eclipse full moon, which is nice, I suppose, if you want to tell the stories that eclipses are ominous or bad. The dragons are typically not the nicest creatures, demons. You know, everybody has a demon in their birth chart. So, anyways, that sun in Cancer ruled over by the moon. Where's the moon? The moon is in Capricorn, which sucks. If you have the moon in Capricorn in your birth chart, does that mean that you suck? Yes, it does. You probably do suck, but you are also probably excellent. I'm just saying that the thing that I know about the people with moon in Capricorn, they tend to be not the most nurturing, not the most sensitive, not the most kind to those around them. They tend to be very achievement oriented. Now, again, there are ways to mitigate this, but like the moon rules Cancer. If it's in the opposite, as far away as it can be from the one place that it's said to rule, that's tough. Now, I'm not trying to freak anyone out or make anyone feel bad, but this is just, I'm pulling from real people that I know that just don't seem the most sensitive, that don't seem the most, like, comfortable, and they don't seem the most... But then again, there's a lot. I love these people. I love how hard they're working and how dedicated they are towards achieving certain things. But it's just not natural. The moon is very sensitive. And when you have it in Capricorn, it feels like just kind of like you're going to have to work, push, achieve. It's just not a very natural place. Now, it's not... I don't think the moon is an evil planet. So it's not like... it's not an evil planet. But because the moon is in a place where it doesn't want to be, and it's in charge of where the sun is, which is, again, I don't think it's a bad place for the sun to be, but it's kind of a more neutral place. The story that I'm getting is one of just like, this is not the most empowered moon. This is not the most sensitive moon. This is not the most nurturing, motherly moon. This is a very real, practical, long-term focused kind of energy. Now, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, which is recently stationed retrograde, so it's already moving slow. It's probably picking up speed going in the backward motion. So there's this sort of like, whoa, what? What seas are we swimming in? What are we doing? Like, who are we? Wait, why am I doing this? Like, there's this review, but it's more in like, what am I gonna do over time? So for me, that Saturn is in the 7th house of my partnerships and my, like, who I'm committed to and my relationships. And I'm like, yeah, what am I giving energy to? Who am I partnered with? I'm trying to like kind of review and go, wait, what? And it's ruling over Capricorn and Aquarius right now. Pluto's sneaked back into Capricorn. Again, I can talk about myself because my life is something that I can confidently report on. This particular chart, it's very feminine. It's about what I'm receiving. I think it's about what I'm experiencing, what's happening, what's coming in, what's available. Like, it's more practical and emotional and intuitive than it is intellectual in a way. It feels like this is a more feminine sort of energy. So it's like, what are you ingesting? Like the vaginal, like taking in energy. Like, what are you? It certainly seems to be feminine. It certainly seems to be feminine in signature. Now, we started with the sun in Cancer. It is ruled over by the moon in Capricorn, which is ruled over by Saturn in Pisces, which is ruled over by Jupiter in Taurus. That Jupiter in Taurus, it is making a nice trine to the moon. So that's this line right here. So this is good. This is helpful because this Saturn is helping. This is nice. There's like a helpful sort of durability in the feminine. It's very feminine. What are you receiving? Jupiter wants to make sure that it's harmonious and comfortable and not overindulgent, right? It wants steady, repeatable joys. Jupiter's also sextiling. Like, it's 9 degrees. So I guess it's sextiling the sun too. That Jupiter is very lovely. That is very helpful. Very well placed. Jupiter is so loving. So there's this sort of Taurus, this like, I'm just going to say what is very general, but we need to have harmonious ways of eating and taking care of our bodies. One of the things about the sun that I'm working on describing at length is that when you think about the constellations, like there's certain constellations where the sun doesn't really get much of a say. It doesn't really get much of a say. And that sun doesn't get much of a say in Taurus or Gemini, more so than other ones. It's really remarkable. That has to do with mutual reception, and it's sort of a serious astrological talk. But there's like this, the way that it's coming to me is like the sun doesn't care ultimately as much about Taurus and Gemini as it does the other signs. Like, it doesn't care as much about whether or not humans get to share their ideas or whether or not humans are consistently comfortable. Like, the sun is going to keep shining. It's like, yes, but more just life, more just survival, more just creating new vital energy. And those things are not my primary concern, which is really shitty. Because for us humans, they're very much part of it. They're very much part of it. And I have a lot going on in Taurus, and it's sort of frustrating that the sun doesn't have that its priority. But that doesn't mean we can't prioritize simple, harmonious, everyday habits. We can't think about how to show up in the world. I'm trying to use my experiences and my insights to try and create something that's helpful. That's what I'm trying to do now, believe it or not. But Jupiter and Taurus. So practical eating things. What does that mean? What does that mean? Practical stretching things. Practical things. Really clean, pure water, a little bit of sunlight. Obviously, we don't want to get sunburned, but we need vitamin D. We need clear water. So invest or explore ways to get that clean water in your body. Healthy vegetables, preferably not covered in plastics and packaging, as close to just natural as you can get. Try to get nutrient dense foods, varieties if possible. Think about our ancestors, hunter foraging way of life. Picking fruit, planting things, eating berries and nuts. I just think right now, we've changed the world a lot with this farming stuff, and I'm not trying to shit on us, but I eat a lot of bread. I eat a lot of bread because that's kind of what I grew up on. That's kind of what I'm used to. I don't eat too much else. Today I've had a little peanut butter and bread. I'm making some hummus, and I've got some bread because I'm out of vegetables. I need to go to the store and get some vegetables and some fruits. But yeah, I pretty much eat that kind of stuff, and it seems to be working. I do have a weird tension thing going on here, and I've had it going on for a long time. So maybe there's things about my diet that's not the best or things that I need to change. I'm open to that. But right now, I mean, I went and had my heart checked out just to make sure, because I had a little, just questions, and they were like, well, let's explore. And thankfully I'm on Medi-Cal, and I was able to get those things. I'm just very blessed to have these support structures. But trining moon to Jupiter, very practical, very long-term focused, very sensible, earthy material stuff. Like, don't overspend. Like, do you really need all that garbage that you're being advertised? I know that that's a harsh label because it's still art and it's still something that humans have made, but I'm just like, oh my God, we're so stupid. We don't need so many of the things we have. We need simple lives. I'm just feeling that resonance of simple. And Saturn in Pisces is also, it's a tired old sailor. Like, it's been around. Like, this is a cold, deathly reality. Like, the dark depths of the ocean. Like, it's real. It's a real place. But that's really nice. That Jupiter's really nice. What rules over Jupiter? We've got Venus. Venus is in Leo, right? Yes. Yeah, and not conjunct Mars, but Venus is pretty feisty. Maybe even a bit androgynous at this point because of that interchange of symbolism. And there's a little bit of Lilith there. Not everybody uses Lilith, but my story is it's a little bit feisty. It's a little feisty Venus. Now, obviously, Venus loves. She wants pleasure and connection. But in Leo, man, the sun's in charge of it, and man. Sun in Cancer, Moon in Capricorn, to Saturn in Pisces, to Jupiter in Taurus, to Venus in Leo, which goes back to the Sun. So it's this no. So it's opposition, sextile. It's real, like, you don't often get this exchange. It's actually really interesting. So the sun says, I want to be comfortable. The moon is like, then you're going to have to work your fucking ass off. Otherwise, you're going to just fail. Ugh. But, do I really want to be committed to this over time? This is, how could I do it differently? What could I do that's much more practical and much more comfortable and much more harmonious? But see, so we have these aspects, so opposition, sextile. Now we have this, it's more of a square. It's not a square. The energy is less flowy. I mean, if there happened to have been an exact square, but with Jupiter to Venus, there's not that same level of like certainty about how it's supposed to go. This one is more like Leo and Taurus, they're still very at odds. Like there's Leo wants to be on the stage and integrated and masterful to it. Like, it has to be the lion, it has to be the predator, the top apex of the little territory. Whereas the Taurus bull, it's like, I think the lion would win, But bulls are no joke. Like, cows are no joke, and they often have people defending them too. So there's this sense of like real, well, because cows, especially in India, like they're worshipped and they give us milk, and oh my God, they're just they eat grass and they get massive. Eating more greens makes sense to me. But so this aversion, this sort of like Venus, she's not in any way made it to Virgo where she doesn't really like it. Venus doesn't really like Virgo. It's not like Venus is bad in Virgo, but it's a little bit love by critical energy. It's harder. Some people are really receptive to it and compatible with it. I'm actually pretty compatible with it because I have Venus in Taurus, so I don't mind it. I get along with Venus and Virgo people, but sometimes it's just a little nervous, to be honest. But so that Venus and Leo energy, getting heated up by Mars, so a little aggression, a little fight, a little relationship, wrath, injustice, fighting energy. I'm thinking of a friend now who's going through some stuff. I'm just kind of tapping into her right now because it's like, ooh. Obviously, I want to keep things contained, but it's just like, not the greatest, but then that goes back to the sun, which then gets back in the loop. So there's a lot of planetary exchange happening. The outer planets, Pluto is sextiling Neptune. So there's this, to me, those are the outer two most points in the system. So there's a sense that this is like really deep. This is going on super below the surface. And because there's not an aspect to like a personal planet, it's almost like, I'm not sure we're gonna see it. At least some people are gonna see it according to this tradition because, so my sun is at 27 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is retrograde and hanging out right there. So I may see it. I may be learning from and pulling from this very subtle depth about achievement, about society. There may be this really subtle thing that's affecting me, but I find that the outer planets are they're much more subtle. Pluto is not even considered a planet, but when I was born, Pluto was closer than Neptune, so I'm kind of attached to it, I guess. My generation might be a little attached to it, but is it or is it not a planet? It's not considered one anymore, so the kids are not going to be taught it. So our relationship with it has to be flexible, because astrology is about tapping into familiar archetypes. I mean, those planets are literally going around us. Our projections about them are ever evolving and changing. I'm trying to make them practical and helpful, and I'm worried about the repercussions of people believing shit. I do give a warning, and I know it's entertainment, I know it's storytelling, I'm trying to make it practical, but I know it's forbidden by religious texts, and I'm feeling like there's definitely a lot of ways this could go. Uranus is squaring Mars and Venus, so there's a little more of that sparky conflict. Like Uranus is an interesting one, so it's like getting shocked with electricity on a bad day. And this is kind of a bad day. It is. It's like a sudden shift in relationships. So what do you do when something sudden happens? Like, let's say nobody showed up to the date that was scheduled and you were all alone. Well, maybe that unfortunate last minute change of plans triggers a deep sense of rejection, or a deep sense of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be comfortable unless I find a partner, or like, just work with the things that do come up suddenly, whether they're inside you or around you. Like maybe you're, because it's squaring Mars and Venus, let's say that you're having a sexual experience, and like if you're gay, sometimes accidents happen, like people didn't maybe prepare as much. Some people are into it, but for me, like that kind of stuff happens, and you're like, oh, well, let's hop in the shower. Like it's It's okay. Or, oh no, I have like a bump on me or an STD of some sort. It's like, oh, that's not wanted. Okay, well, what are the resources available to help this? I can't fight this. It doesn't help me to suffer extra because of it. I need to just accept what's going on and be like, what's the best, the kindest, most reasonable thing to do? That's what I would give my energy to. So, I think we've pretty much discussed this chart. Man, I guess we didn't discuss the dragon. It's unaspected, which I kind of like. It's not that I'm against the demon, but the demon that isn't doing anything is also kind of nice. I mean, it would be. Like, for me, the demon is straight up on my Venus. So there's this, like, dragon that's like, I want love, I want relationships, I want sex, I want pleasure, I want the good things. So, am I like that? Perhaps. But again, not everybody's me. Not everybody is feeling the same things. My job is to just feel the story, share the story. Your job is to like, share, book sessions, go live with me on Instagram, live your own life. I mean, I'm just asking. I'm just pushing myself forward. Okay, demons. Okay, archetypes. This chart. I can't say that the energy that's coming out of me is one of like, see, but how much is my own experience, my own limitations soiling or projecting or limiting what wants to happen in your life or our lives or the universe lives? Like, what do I want to do in this moment? Given that it's Jupiter, this is a very Jupiter type person, so we're just gonna read the first 3 paragraphs of this. What is yoga? The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning to bind, join, attach, and yoke, to direct and concentrate one's attention on, to use and apply. It also means union or communion. It is the true union of our will with the will of God. It thus means, says Mahadev Desai in his introduction to the Gita according to Gandhi, the yoking of all the powers of the body, mind, and soul to God. It means the disciplining of the intellect, the mind, the emotions, the will, which that yoga presupposes. It means a poise of the soul which enables one to look at life in all of its aspects evenly. This is better. Yoga is one of the 6 orthodox systems of Indian philosophy. It was collated, coordinated, and systematized by Pantajali in his classical work, the Yoga Sutras, which consists of 185 terse aphorisms. Terse? I think I know what terse means, like sparing in the use of words, abrupt. So, I said I was going to read 3, so I should do what I'm going to say, but then I want to look up those. In Indian thought, everything is permeated by the Supreme Universal Spirit, Paramatma or God, of which the individual human spirit, Jivatma, is a part. Sorry about the pronunciation. The system of yoga is so called because it teaches the means by which the Jivatma, or the human spirit, can be united to or be in communion with the Paratma, and so secure liberation, moksha. One who follows the path of yogi is a yogi or a yogin. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the most important, authority on yoga philosophy, Sri Krishna explains to Arjuna the meaning of yoga as a deliverance from contact with pain and sorrow. It is said, I guess I have to read this one too. When his mind, intellect, and self, amakara, are under control, free from restless desire, so that they rest in the spirit within, a man becomes a yukta, one in communion with God. A lamp does not flicker in a place where no wind blows. So it is with a yogi, who controls his mind, intellect, and self, being absorbed in the spirit within him. When the restlessness of the mind, intellect, and self is stilled through the practice of yoga, the yogi, by the grace of the spirit, finds spirit within himself, finds fulfillment, or herself, I suppose, would be just as good. Then he knows the joy eternal, which is beyond the pale of the senses, which his reasons cannot grasp. He abides in this reality and moves not therefrom. He has found the treasure above all others. There is nothing higher than this. He who has achieved it shall not be moved by the greatest sorrow. This is the real meaning of yoga, a deliverance from contact with pain and sorrow. I mean, my goodness, it sounds like the end of suffering. It sounds like the video that I'm listening to If I go to my Google account, let me go to my history. So I'm currently listening to, oh, I'm live right now, you can see me. Chronicles of Narnia. I've been doing some research on that, listening to that as I consider my own children's work and consider the sort of dichotomy or the opposed, let me make sure dichotomy is the right one. Abrupt, terse, dichotomy. Make sure this is right. Division of consciousness between two things that are represented as being opposed. Yes. So Tolkien versus Lewis. I always perceived them as friends, but the more I learn about them, the more I'm realizing like Tolkien didn't like how haphazard, I would say, Sag Mercury C.S. Lewis was. I think that C.S. Lewis is entertaining, but I also understand the kind of like Saturn and Libra kind of Tolkien sort of style. But anyways, so considering archetypes, considering it all, experiencing God within, like that's sort of that sense of like union with God. Like there's anger and there's aversion and all sorts of things. Like the winds are not fully stilled in my own experience. I don't know about yours, but I just know that I still feel and have anger and all these kind of things. And but it's people who are God realized or saints, as they're called, still display things. Like even Jesus was flipping stuff over in the temple. He was killed, so clearly he was experiencing something, but there was maybe a freedom at the same time. And then we think about like the historical legitimacy of these tales, and oh man, what a world we're a part of. I think that's everything. What was I gonna pull up? I've forgotten. See, very spacey, I suppose. But I'm gonna look up those sutras. I suppose I can still do that and be live. I guess I'm not ready to be done showing myself. The Yoga Sutras by Pantajali. Let's see. On the International Day of Yoga. I like this guy. He's coming to LA, but he's charging like $800, and I'm like, geez, I can't afford that. Well, I mean, I could afford that, but for what purpose? What does it give me? Like, just to be in the presence of someone that I can already watch on YouTube? Like, it doesn't, I don't really get it. But I'm sure he's a great guy. I just don't feel called to it anymore. I mean, I might pay it if this guy was still alive, but that would be because it'd be kind of supernatural. But I don't know. I guess I have my preferences. Are there people I'd pay like $800 to go see? I just don't really have that much money. Like, I want to be given things. I don't want to give things. Okay, let's see. Google. I want to see if there's a way to, let's see how, Patanjali divided in 4 chapters and books. Sutras. I want to just read them in English, preferably, because maybe there isn't. I'm sure that, okay, here we go. This is what I want to, the first one is on contemplations on spiritual, on divine powers and realizations. I am down for this. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Now that I found it, I suppose I'll say goodbye. Light, love, and the snake's bite.